that's one of the really interesting things about Ashes of Creation, because I've never really had the opportunity to play a game that really has a fully fleshed out naval system. So what is the scope of like how big of ships can you build in Ashes of Creation? Like what's the biggest ship you can make? How many people
you can make capital ships. You can make large, very large raid size 40 plus players that can be on a ship. You know, ships in and of themselves as vehicles, right? They open up an entirely different type of experience than what you would have on land, and it's a completely different tactical engagement when you're on a ship and you're encountering an adversary, or even for the PvE components of what exists out in the water.
Krakens.
I never really, I don't know if you guys have, but I've never really experienced, I felt a game that did like water combat well, an MMORPG that did water combat well. I always felt like it was awkward, like movement was really awkward for the most part in a lot of the, or either it was just like, it was like an on-screen effect.
Sekiro, I think, does relatively good water combat, but there's not really a whole lot of change there. It's really just you can just move faster underwater. But other than that, there are very few times where water combat doesn't just, like, the water level isn't the most hated level.
Well, I do feel like in MMOs in particular, some people are saying Guild Wars 2. I played Guild Wars 2, but not enough to actually experience whatever you guys are referring to. But yeah, I feel like water always does feel clunky.
Yeah.
But people are always excited for it. They're always excited. Like, even after WoW put out some water levels that were like less than great, anytime that they would say that they were doing it again, everybody was like, all right, this is the time. It's going to work. People want that underwater level or that water level.
Yeah, and I think the reason why that desire is there is because you have this like standard gameplay experience that's on land. And to experience something different, just to get you out of that element of the same loop over and over, is, I think, a welcomed reprieve from like your typical experiences, right? So the way we kind of approach from a ship perspective of like how we're going to allow players to construct these different types of ships is there are many different ship classes, right? You have these individual based kind of ship classes that you can construct where you might only fit 1 or 2 people on board. They're going to be faster. They're going to have different types of abilities. They're going to have different type of ship components that you can construct and place on the ship. You're going to have group oriented ships where maybe you're going to be able to fit like 8 to 10 people on that ship, and they're going to have their own aspects. And then you're going to be able to move up to that multiple groups and eventually raid size ships. Each of these ships have like construction and destruction.
It's so cool. Can you imagine just being like your little dinghy out there, your little canoe, and you're just like, oh man, I'm headed to this town real quick to meet up with my guild, and you just see this like Kraken swimming under you. Man, this would be a crazy experience. Yo, Benji, thanks for checking out the stream. This game is really beautifully made. Yeah, I mean, after all this weekend alpha we've had, like, it's still got a long way to go, but I think they're really on the right track.
Construction states that you're going to have to partake in. They're going to have components that you'll be able to construct and place on the ship as well. Are they going to be more offensive? Are they going to be more defensive? Are they going to have utilitarian components to it? Kind of adhering to almost a trinity in ship design, right? So like something that correlates to your adventuring class in the ships as well. And then you're going to have treasure hunting that you can do out in the ocean. You're going to have treasure maps that you can find, and you'll be able to like dig up and find out there. You're going to have like sea raids, bosses that you'll be able to encounter, which will have a more mechanical component in how it relates to what the ship is doing versus what your adventuring class is doing. Right, and that's cool. I think going to be something fun as well. And I think the cool thing about water systems in general, especially when you're talking about an economy-driven game that has the movement of goods as an important component of how you utilize the artisanship system, is it creates multiple routes by which you can take these goods, whether through merchant ships or through your caravans transitioning into those merchant ships, and it makes a more dynamic battlefield if other players want to mess with you, right? Like, I think that's something that's cool too, and it provides a different source of threat than what you're accustomed to.